Test, 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 test. To the world was hello. Thank you. Bye.
Good evening, folks. Yeah, Burning One. What was it? Heel versus Babyface did a video about that. I'm of mixed minds about it. I don't really have a problem with it. If Epic Games is willing to pony up the extra money to get the exclusivity, Steam has that option too. I like there to be competition in the market. I don't like Steam being the only one that does the digital release of games. So I'm glad that Epic Games is offering competition, because competition is healthy. That means lower prices for everybody, theoretically. You know, because they're competing for your business. Beyond that, I don't really know. Yeah, I get that. I do. But it's really just you know, the launchers are such tiny little things. They use up very little system resources. I know you don't want to have multiple things, but do you want one person to be in charge of all digital release? I guess I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here. Let's use our skill points real quick. I guess I could just train with that guy, but whatever. I get why people are upset. I do. It's a pain in the ass trying to keep track of all these different passwords and logins and whatnot. And but Uh, yeah, I don't know about that. I haven't really used the Epic Games thing that much. I'm a cheap bastard. I don't like buying games unless it's a really good game. What am I looking for? First aid. Where the hell's first aid? Bear with me just a second. Yeah, and I think a lot of this, it's, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of this negative press is being put out by Steam, or at least planting the seeds of doubt to protect their market share, because, you know, who can blame them? Do I not have first aid? Oh, screw it. I don't like having anybody. I don't like anybody having a monopoly on anything. It never leads to good things. So, yeah, there's that. And, you know, Epic's going to have to prove themselves, and they're off to a rocky start, from what I gather. Yeah, same here. I took it. Well, I know how it works. It's just it's a pain in the ass to level it. Bind wound. That's what it's called. It's not called first aid. Derp. Oh well. I'm gonna make my way over to Qeynos. Boy, the latency on the server is really freaking high. Oh, Qeynos Hills is the same. That's good. Yeah, that was just stupid. I don't even know what the hell they were thinking there. They are, you know, again, playing devil's advocate, they are trying very hard to fix their screw-up. So, in a year, I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt and see what they come up with. Danny Maple, the Maple Man cometh. What's going on, Danny? Oh, look at that. Dubious. We can live with dubious. This is going to irritate me. I don't like the tabs. Yeah, the problem there is they've stopped making games for gamers and started making games for shareholders. And I don't see any way around that for the big AAA developers. They're going to continue to do that because that's who they have to answer to. That's who they're beholden to. Once these companies decide to go public with their product, you know, you give up control. What's that? I don't know. I hope not. It's kind of funny listening to you try to talk. Girlfriend lost her voice, and she's back here squeaking at me. It's kind of cute. She sounds like an anime character. Yeah, that was their biggest fall or downfall, was old tech, just trying to squeeze as much life as they. Well, and that goes to them trying to make the game as cheaply as possible. And again, they're paying for it. Their reputation is shot to hell. Nobody will ever trust Bethesda again, and that's a shame. But you give up control of your game to a bunch of people that have never probably ever played a video game in their lives, and what do you expect? What do you think's going to happen? No good's going to come of it. They got to stop publicly trading their companies. That's all there is to it. But they want those investment bucks. Half-Life 3 is a myth. It's never going to come out. I think the Half-Life 3 thing has been joked about so much that people just don't expect it to come out anymore. And I don't know. Why is he yellow? Yeah, yeah. Once it went corporate. Now PUBG's still hanging in there. Still a lot of people streaming it, a lot of people enjoying it, for what it's worth. Yeah. What's that? Oh, Jesus.
Then he starts screaming and calling her a fucking bitch. And she pulls the car into a parking spot and then just starts beating the shit out of her.
Oh, Jesus. My girlfriend's telling me horror stories about work. Yeah, H1Z1's dead. I don't think they're going to be able to salvage that. That is definitely a dead one. Oh, you guys so big, it scares me. They're not dropping anything. What the hell? Did they do away with loot on decaying skeletons? They tried to revitalize H1Z1, but there's just so much competition in the Battle Royale market, and you know they missed their window of opportunity. That's the key. That's how you can make your money talk. Stop giving it to the AAA developers. I don't care how good their game looks. I don't care how tempting it is to pick it up. They're going to continue to do what they do, and they're going to continue to treat their customers like shit in favor of their shareholders, as long as they can continue to cash in on it. And that's just plain simple. You know, it's just, you know, it's just the way it is. Any indie game that people are willing to get behind. You know, I say these things, but you know, you also have to take into account the current market and principles, which are incredibly lacking these days. Oh, I can't name one. No, I'm not that well versed in the indie game scene. Or gaming scene. Just, you know, I see the videos on YouTube, and that's what I talk about. But principles have gone right out the window as far as you know, whether or not to support a product. You have a weapon. I want it. Well, you got two big ones coming down the pike. You got Ashes of Creation, you know, but I think they're going to screw the pooch. I think their goals were too ambitious, and Pantheon, of course, but you know, they're MMOs, and I'm pretty sure the MMO market's dead. Yeah, they started off with a good idea, Ashes, but like I said, I think they were being a little too ambitious on what they could deliver, and they realized that the technology is just not in place for them to do what they want to do, especially for how much it's going to cost them. I don't think people are going to have the patience. I don't think the modern gaming market is going to have the patience to play Pantheon. Really upset. I used to depend on the starting area over here to kind of gear up. But it's not panning out this time. Yeah. Oh, Anthem is trash. there's nothing there. It's just completely lacking in any content. It wasn't ready to be released. It was released buggy. Well, Christ, what was it? A level 1 gun was the best weapon in the game. The gameplay itself was enjoyable, but when you have nothing to do with that gameplay, it's kind of pointless to even play it. It's going to fail. Anthem's going to just fade away. But they're not going to learn. They're going to continue to make the same mistakes that they've been making all along. Because nobody calls them on it. Because there's just an incredible lack of ethics in the morals in the gaming community. Because it's primarily young kids that were brought up without them. You know, the Walmart generation. Kids that were brought up on Walmart. Well, everybody knows that Walmart is destructive to local economies. Doesn't stop them from shopping there. Because you can get cheap Chinese mass-produced stuff inexpensively. Yeah. Be very vocal about what you like and don't like, and don't give me your money. That's really all there is to it. I don't care how good the game looks. I don't care how good you can't even trust the reviews anymore, to be honest, because all the reviewers, we were talking about this in regards to movies, the girlfriend and I. There was a time when movie producers, Spoon, Bloodcorn, thanks for the sub. Thank you, sir. When movie producers were scared to death of reviewers, so they tried really hard to make quality product. Vic, what's going on? But that's kind of shifted now. The movie producers are withholding early access to the movies from the reviewers unless they're guaranteed good reviews. Yeah, they're paid for, bought and paid for, and the reviewers don't have any principles. They don't have any. You know, they're just looking to sell clicks. You know, it's all clicks now. Oh, fun stuff. Fun stuff. Great way to spend the evening. I need to redo my secondary drive and put in some partitions. But I got so much stuff installed on it now, I don't want to. Yeah, integrity's gone right out the window, and that applies to any news type organization anymore. It's, again, they're accountable to shareholders. We are pretty much. Yeah, I'm coming to that conclusion. I don't like to be nihilistic. I really don't. I like to think that there's hope. But I'm not seeing it. I'm just not seeing it. And you know, if you really want to get deep into the subject, this all can be tied back down to the breakdown of the nuclear family, plain and simple. People are always going to take the easiest path when presented. Most people, you know, they're not going to take the most rewarding path. They're going to take the easiest path. It's just the way people are. And if you offer somebody a free ride, they're going to take it. I was going somewhere with that. I was trying to go too many directions at once and I got confused. But all this stuff is related. You know, we're talking in our little microcosm of gaming and movies and whatnot, but you know, it's all related to a much bigger picture, a much bigger cancer. Yeah. Well, because people don't like to think they're stupid. I'm reading Mark Twain right now, actually. Boy, he does not like the Muslims. Holy crap. He did a story about this round-the-world trip that he signed up for on a steamship. Him and a crew of motley characters just going around the world, visiting various ports of call. And one of the places he stopped was Turkey. And does not have anything good to say about those people at all. And this is like late 1800s, the 1890s. What that has to do with anything, I don't know. Does he have a weapon? Looks like he has a weapon. I need a sword. Yes, you, come here. No, I know that. He wasn't really talking about it in the way that we talk about it today. It was just observations on character traits. Don't look behind the curtain. Well, the starter weapons seem to be a heck of a lot better now than they used to be. Yeah. Yeah, I know, and there's a lot of incentive for us to do so by certain groups. Get one group to hate the other group and they'll kill each other so you don't have to, kind of thing. And then when the dust clears, you just expand your borders. And we've been falling for it. Well, not falling for it. We know full well it's not like we're being fooled into doing it. I would really like to have all the information regarding that. Because I don't like picking groups. Because at the head of every group is a person directing the group. So hating the group is pointless. You want to go to the person that's in charge. You want to go to the top of the chain, because that's the person who's to blame. People are stupid. People are going to do stupid stuff. It's just the way they are. I mean, on a whole, you know. The mob has the intelligence of the dumbest person in the group. But if you find that person at the top, that's the person you want to go after. That's the person you want to remove from the equation. And that's the only way you're going to accomplish anything. We can sit here and kill each other for the next 100 years and it's not going to accomplish anything, because the person at the top is still going to be the person at the top. Even if he does pass the reins on to his successor, you know, it's still... that one guy. When I was younger, I used to go after the groups. Always blame the group for the actions that they're taking. You know, when the 9/11 thing happened, I was all, you know, I was one of those people that was calling for blood. Yeah, they do. But that fades over time. You're not going to fix the problem right away. It's not something that you can... there are no instant solutions. Everybody wants one, but they don't exist. Those people who were extremely loyal and extremely devoted, over time become fewer and fewer and fewer. They die out, they get killed, they, you know, take their own lives, whatever. They disappear. And the people that are fiercely devoted are going to have a much harder time convincing someone to follow that guy's teachings once he's dead. Because they don't, if they had that level of charisma and intelligence and whatnot, they'd be the guy in top. But they don't. That's why they're a follower. So they're not going to be able to convert people like that guy was. So it will fizzle over time. Time. That's what it is. Time. None of these solutions are instantaneous. You're not going to fix it overnight. It didn't get there overnight. These were long, drawn-out processes that have been worked on and planned and schemed for years, decades. The only solution now, and it is going to be a drastic solution. Protests aren't going to do it. Petitioning your congressman isn't going to do it. Removing those in power and replacing them with better candidates. That's the only way it's going to... Of course, you're not going to get that anymore, because, again, the game was played very well. They knew what they were doing when they were doing it. They manipulated the situation so that people just don't care anymore. People aren't willing to fight. People aren't willing to give up their iPhones. People aren't willing to give up their creature comforts anymore. They're not. They're not going to fight the system that's, paying their rent. The average person. I mean, Sebus, what's going on? Now, I'm going to be hopping back on P99 here in the near future. We were talking about it in the Discord. I wanted to check it's 20th anniversary. I had to log on to the live servers at least a little bit. 20 years, that's a big deal. Yeah, but you're only one person, Danny. Only one person. And there just aren't enough people that care anymore. And I know that sounds nihilistic. I know that sounds like I'm giving up the ghost. But it's not. It's just reality. People have been conditioned to not care. People have been conditioned to not think too deeply into these things. Well, that goes back to the whole gaming thing that we were talking about. People will continue to support these crappy game designers because they don't care. They don't care enough to not, and they're going to continue to allow themselves to get screwed. And they'll bitch and complain on the forums and whatnot, but they'll still buy the games. I mean, everyone that's online complaining about how crappy this game is still bought that game, despite the fact that everybody said it was going to be crappy. Yeah, it's much more difficult to put something assemble something like that now, because they have eyes and ears everywhere. Here we are. You can't hide anymore, and it's so hard to do something offline. But these things are also self-correcting. Given enough time. Not in our lifetimes, but one day. I am looking what's going on everywhere, and I'm seeing the apathy, but I'm also seeing a lot of wake up. People are becoming more aware. Enough people are becoming more aware that, you know, once the lowest common denominator people have been removed from the equation, there's going to be enough of those people left over that are aware. And now this is wishful thinking on my part. Internet was a mistake to those in power. It gave you a wealth of information at your fingertips, uncensored, unfiltered. I don't think they anticipated that kind of outcome. You can't silence anything anymore. Now, granted, back to the general complacency of the population, most people just don't care. You know, everybody's screaming bloody murder about the 49 people that were killed in New Zealand, but nobody's saying a word about the Christians that are being routinely slaughtered in Nigeria as we speak. I mean, and hundreds and hundreds of them being slaughtered with machetes, you know, simply for being Christian. They didn't do anything. They were just Christian in a predominantly Muslim region. Nobody's saying a word about that because it's not being reported on. It's not being talked about. So what do we do? How do we fix it? That's my question. It's fun to complain about it and all that. I get that. But how do you take responsibility for the situation? Because we are to blame. You can point your finger at anybody you want and say that this guy's doing this, but ultimately we are to blame. And then the first step to fixing the problem is understanding that the problem exists because of you. Me, you, everybody that allowed it to get to this point. The signs were there. We were told repeatedly not to allow, for example, a national bank to become a thing. We didn't listen. We allowed it to become a thing. We allowed Woodrow Wilson to become president, and damn us to hell. What do you mean it's not true? How is it not true? You're not being forced to follow these rules. You're not being forced to do any of this stuff. No, we're all to blame, Danny. I'm sorry. This is one thing that, and this is the path to salvation, I guess, is understanding your role in it. And I'm not picking on you specifically, but people's role in it. People allow themselves to become tyrannized. I don't care how big a country's military is. There's always an overwhelming number of population compared to the military. Here in the United States, for every one soldier, there's probably 100,000 people. So they can threaten you with the military. They just don't have the numbers to do it. The problem is, people just don't care. But until you reach that point where you can say, okay, this was my fault because I allowed it to happen, you're not going to fix anything. You're just not. Okay, well, you don't have to. You don't have to. But somebody can't make you do something. Nobody's twisting your arm, making you take part in the system. Nobody's forcing you to use banks. Nobody's forcing you to drive a car. Nobody's forcing you to get a driver's license. These are all conscious choices on your part. And by doing these things, you're supporting the system. Nobody's forcing you to register your firearms. Now, the consequences for not doing so, yeah, but is it worth it to you? You have a choice in every action you take. There's a lot of conditioning. There's a lot of conditioning that goes into a modern human being. And it starts very early on. Yeah, I've never had a driver. Well, no, that's not true. I had one for 6 months. It never stopped me from driving. And I'm not, trying to be all altruistic or anything like that. I don't like a lot of the things YouTube does. I don't like the way they filter things. But I still continue to use it. See, that's an example. I'm making a conscious choice to use YouTube as one of my streaming platforms. Despite the fact that I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that they're silencing opposition. And, by extension, everybody here who disagrees with their actions is supporting that system simply by tuning in. Now, I would hate to see it go, but I would understand why. It's the same deal with the Patreon. All the people who pulled their support from Patreon after people were getting deplatformed and whatnot. They just decided to take their money elsewhere. But a lot of people didn't. Yeah, convenience. What's easier? And people are naturally inclined to take the path of least resistance, to take the easy way out. And I'm just as guilty of it as anybody else. Twitch. Twitch does a lot of things I just don't agree with. With all the cam whores and whatnot to get away with murder, while other people are banned for having conversations like the one we're having right now. I continue to use the platform. Yeah. Well, it's that chase for the mighty dollar. You can't do anything in this world without it. And that's the hook. That's the gotcha. They know beyond a shadow of a doubt that if you want to get anything accomplished in this world, you have to have money. And that's the foundation of the entire process. It all revolves around controlling the money. Who makes it? Who determines its value? And who allows you to have it? How do you get around that? You can say barter system, but who else is willing to do it with you? How many people are going to jump on that train with you? Yeah. Yep, it happens. It happens to the best of us. It does horrible things to people. And who the hell am I? I'm sitting here spewing all this crap. Who the hell am I? I'm nobody. Do I think you should believe a single word I say? Do I think you should take a single thing I say to heart? Hell no. Absolutely not. I think you should find out for yourself. Yeah, it is. Well, I don't know. I think there are a select few people out there that are altruistic enough to not be tempted by it, to not give in to the temptation. There's not too many of them, but there are a few, and there shouldn't be too many of them, because those are your leaders. Those are the ones who will direct you down a better path. It's like college, for example. College wasn't designed to be for everybody. It was designed to be for the select few, the exceptional few. And those were people you looked up to. Those are people whose opinions you trusted, because they tended to be more intelligent. They tended to be more gifted in certain areas than the average person. And now when you got sub-average people, below average people attending university, Christ, they're letting Down syndrome people into universities now. You know, that pool gets so watered down with incompetence. That's kind of what we're facing here with the you know, lack of modern day leadership. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody's voicing that opinion, and you know, myself included. A lot of us just don't know. Most of us just don't know. The vast majority of us just don't know. So, don't take anything I say to heart. Go out and find the answers your own damn self. And that's what you believe. Because I could be talking absolute shit. As far as you know. Just put it in a pretty package. That's all they do. Read, 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 read. Read everything. And then if you have any questions, read some more. I'm so pretty. I'm so pretty. But personal accountability. That's the biggest part of it. You have to accept your role in the situation. Because until you do that, you're not going to get anywhere. And you have to be honest with yourself about how much you're willing to risk, how much you're willing to give up, how much you're willing to lose. Now for me, I have a family. A lot of other people could get hurt by my actions. So obviously I have to be cautious. If you want to be a revolutionary, don't get married. Don't form any attachments. Because the most powerful people in the world are the ones that don't have anything to lose. Oh, I saw on 4chan, was it yesterday or something? Somebody made a post about people committing suicide. And they said, you're being a selfish little prick for committing suicide. Other people have to deal with your remains. You're leaving family behind who are going to be traumatized by the act. Everything you do in that situation is selfish. Instead, the world is your oyster. If that's the path you've decided to choose, you're already dead. So there is no reason why you can't go out and do whatever the hell it is you want to do. Good or bad. Because you're already dead. Instead of wasting it in a selfish manner, do something constructive with it. Fight the good fight. What do you got to lose? Just kind of stuck with me. Not that I'm suicidal or anything like that, but it's just... The whole board, 4chan, the whole board has gone to shit. Right. Or if you can see a way of doing something good. You know, I don't want to make it a negative thing, because you never get a positive result from a negative action. It just doesn't work that way. The universe doesn't work that way. Yeah, the board has gone to shit, especially since Moot gave it up. But if you filter through, you find those little nuggets. That's the hard part. Oh, they went too vocal. People started showing their power level in public settings, and you know, started bragging about it, and that was always antithetical to what the whole thing was about in the first place. Look at me, I'm cool, I'm on the chans, you know, and it just destroyed the whole thing. New fags. Oh yeah, absolutely there is. It's not hard to figure out. I mean, Cher Blue's been an active participant on that board since the elections. Just to name one. But then you just find another platform. Same deal with that. You don't like what it's become? Don't use it. I pretty much stopped using them. If there's like a big news story coming out that I catch wind of, I'll go there first to get some of the details about it, and then I'll take it further from there. But it's not reliable anymore. It's not dependable, and it wasn't meant to be. I just always liked that you could go to that one spot and get voices from all over the world talking about things you may not have even heard of, because those people are right there. You know, it's happening in their backyard. But you have to filter through so much crap anymore just to get to it. That's just not worth the time. I can get the information elsewhere. Yeah, so it's you can't even say what you want. You know, I mean, say what you want within reason. Some things are always just going to be bad. Just from a human perspective. Zobek, thanks for the follow. There will be a notification, I'm sure.
Well, that's new.
There it is. Thank you for that. The problem with the free speech argument is you have to be mature enough to use free speech. Alright, Anonymous, thanks for stopping by. Always a pleasure. And a lot of people just aren't equipped to deal with it. I'm not saying I'm opposed to free speech. I'm obviously a very big fan of it. But along with freedoms comes responsibility. And, you know, with great freedom comes great responsibility, to paraphrase Spidey. Well, that's exactly why, Siberian. EQ beat him to the punch. EQ is also a little more relatable to people, because they picked up a lot of the D&D crowd. Orcs, goblins, you know, that kind of thing. It's straight up D&D fare. Comfortable territory for the D&D players. So they were able to market to those guys too. So AC had its own bestiary and everything. They didn't draw from any existing source. They made up their own. Whereas EverQuest basically pulled everything right out of the monster manual. Yeah, I don't disagree. I really don't. But I can see why EQ won that war. Just being realistic. I played them both. Christ, I played them all. Back in the beginning, I played them all. As soon as an MMO came out, I jumped on it. Starting with AC. No, I wasn't in the Ultimate Online crowd, but no, AC was my first. And then I, switched to EQ because that's what half of my friends were playing, and had fun with it. And oh Christ, EQ's been on my computer ever since 2001. It's always been installed. I have a disease. But then Anarchy Online came out, and I jumped ship to that. And when City of Heroes came out, I was gone. I was gone. That was the game I was waiting for. And I wish I'd gotten more time in on it. But there were so many other games coming out at the same time, and I wanted to play them all. And you can't subscribe to 800 different games, so you have to pick and choose. And I have the attention span of a 3-year-old, so... Oh, look at that shiny thing. I will be right back in just a moment. I need a new coffee, so bear with me. Alright, sorry about that. I had to hit the head. Yeah. Yep, sometimes when I'm sitting here I get that itch. That itch. The only problem I have with playing it now is the thing that hooked me on AC was the monthly content updates. And you're not going to get that anymore. That's just not going to happen anymore, because there was this continuing story. Every month it would get updated with new content, new dungeons, new story, new everything. As much as I appreciate the work that they're doing on the emulators, they're never going to recapture that. I noticed that when I went back after I went into maintenance mode and I started playing again. You know, the nostalgia kicked in pretty hard at the beginning, but eventually I realized that it's just not the same without those regular updates. Yeah, it was unheard of, that level of support, that level of interaction, that level of commitment from a developer. And you always felt like you were a part of it. Even if you were like an ultra noob like I was, you always felt like you were a part of it. In some small way. If you completed one of the quests, you know, for example, you felt like you accomplished something. You know, there's a lot of things I like about EverQuest, but it never had that hook that AC had, you know, for that reason. Yeah, yeah, I agree. I appreciate the work that they're doing on them. I'm going to continue to support them, you know, here and there. Not going to play it hardcore or anything like that. But you know, for a lot of people it didn't matter. For the PvPers, for example, content didn't matter. Unless it was some means of making them more effective at PvP, which was AC's biggest feature at the time, especially. You know, 'cause again, nothing against EverQuest. It's a great game. But the PvP sucks. Plain simple. Compared to Asheron's Call, it just sucks. You know, and that's, I started on a PvP server. Yeah, yep. The combat system, I think, is what made AC so good, because it, you know, it mattered where you hit a mob, whether you hit it low or hit it high. It mattered what element you used or what type of attack you used, you know, whether you used fire or piercing or frost or whatever. And these are all things you had to know before going into that fight. You know, I'm fighting Legions, I better get out my lightning weapon. And you want to either, well, Legions you wanted to hit high. They're weak low too, but they're weaker high. Drudges didn't matter. You hit them with anything except acid and they're going to die. Yeah, I mean, they'll still die to acid, but they're resistant to acid. And you had to learn all this stuff, and you had to know it. It's not like you could look it up before going into a fight, because, you know, by the time you looked it up, you were dead. So it forced you to learn, to retain. They just approached it from a different angle, that's all. not saying one's better than the other, because EverQuest has a lot going for it. Yeah, yeah. Everybody that swore to Balzaron when he showed up. And the glitched out fight between him and Acheron, where they had to restart the whole thing. Good times, good times. The Shadow Spires. That was my favorite time in the game, when the Shadow Spires started making an appearance. They were terrifying. I was always afraid to go anywhere near them. And I had that sense of, you know, terror that even a lot of horror games can't compete with. Yeah. Then the big Shadow War broke out, and all the spires were destroyed, and you know, having to go up in the spires and fight the bad guys within, and when they unlocked them finally. It's just so many neat things. And it was dynamic. The combat was so dynamic. It wasn't just stand in front of the bad guy and kill. There was a good deal of that, but you know, positioning mattered a lot. Dodging the incoming fireball. As most games that have come out since, there's no dodging of incoming attacks. I mean, some of the newer ones have evasion features. Yeah, the dolls. Those dolls were creepy. Thompson, what's going on? It was time to come back, I think. It was time. To be honest, I wasn't having any fun with anything. I think it's just a time of life kind of thing. So I figure if I'm going to not have fun with something, I might as well not have fun with something that people actually want to watch. You know what I mean? That sounds horrible. I know it does, but your priorities change when you get older. And it's 20 years. 20 freaking years. You gotta support that. Not too many people can lay claim to a 20 years still being active. It's honestly, and you know, I don't want to say anything negative about EverQuest or Daybreak or anything like that. I really don't. But honestly, it's no different than playing on any of the emulators. I mean, it's a little better. The coding's a little better. but you can get the same experience from playing on EQ Reborn. Is a progression server. They're just taking their good old time with the progress. Yeah, P99 was a progression server. Yeah, you got more opportunities for grouping on here. Not that anybody does. I think Anarchy's is like 18 or 19. They just opened up a fresh new server. Anarchy Online did. A brand new clean slate server where everybody's starting out from scratch. Do they? I don't know. I'm not going to. I don't. I'm just piddling around with the progression servers. I'm not taking it seriously at all. Honestly, I just come here to talk to you guys. If I could get away with doing IRL streams, I would. That sounds horrible. I know it does, but it's, again, it's a time of life kind of thing. It's once you've neared half a century, you just priorities shift. Yeah, well, I liked the Shadowlands expansion. There was some neat stuff in there. That's me, you know. I don't want to commit to anything, Thompson, because I'm only playing it for a month. I paid up for a month, and that's all I'm going to play it. I just wanted to take part in their 20 years. I just wanted to show them a little support, you know, for sticking with it for as long as they did. But I'm just going to go back to the emulators after the month is up. Except for, you know, maybe hopping on Bertoxilus every once in a while. Yeah, they had a lot of neat things going on in that game. I got overwhelmed with that Anarchy Online because there's so much freaking stuff. The trade skills alone, my God, were mind-boggling. I don't know how anybody ever figured that crap out. You know, the first person to figure out how it all works. I mean, I thought EQ trade skills were cumbersome and overwhelming, but they don't hold a candle to Anarchy Online. Yeah, that was my opinion. I'm going to start doing that on the weekends again. At least on the weekends. But I want to show Daybreak some love for sticking it out, keeping the game going, you know, when any other company would have shut it down. Let's be honest. As much hate as Daybreak gets, any other company would have just shut this game down. I mean, to this day, I have no idea what I'm doing in Anarchy Online. I log in, I equip stuff, I go around, beat things up. But the problem that I ran into with Anarchy Online was complete lack of story. Everything about Anarchy Online was just randomly generated missions. There was no purpose, no point. Yeah, I'm going to be on this weekend. Probably not going to be on tomorrow night because she's off and we want to finish watching Season 2 of Into the Badlands. So we're going to be doing that tomorrow night. I didn't even know they had a Season 2. I watched the first season when it came out. And then it took them forever to get to Season 2 and I just kind of lost interest after a while. I forgot about it. But then I saw that, you know, season 3 was underway, and well, wait, what? Where the hell did season 2 go? You know, unless something happens, like she decides she wants to go to bed early or something, I'm probably not going to be on tomorrow night. I think that's what killed Star Wars Galaxies also. You need a hook. You need something for the players to get involved in, a purpose, and randomly generated missions are not a hook. It's just something to do. It's literally just a grind. But yeah, it's still going strong. They opened up a new server, you know, a fresh start server. Paid subscribers only, of course, but ding, level 4. Now, let's see if I can find something to do with all these bone chips. Yeah, I should get a couple more, just making an even number. Oh, Fippy's dead. That's the position I find myself in. I don't have the time for an MMO anymore. So I want to, you know, I like first-person shooters. Hop in, get a few games in, hop out. But you know, that gets boring after a while. The last game to come out that actually got me excited was Destiny 2. Really enjoyed playing that game, but I blasted through the content so quickly that ran out of stuff to do. The gamer's curse. You know, you want to get all the content done, you want to get it done today, and then you get it done today, and then you got nothing to do, and then you're bored. Every WoW expansion ever. That's they have a quick spike in numbers as everybody logs in to do all the new content. They've done all the new content, so they quit. I don't team play, I just do randoms. And it's not to achieve anything like Overwatch. I don't care about ratings or rankings or anything. I'll do my ranking matches every season, but you know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything because I'm not playing with a group. I'm just logging on to goof around for a little bit. That's why I always, as much hate as that game gets, that's why I always enjoyed Black Squad. You just log in, do some team deathmatch matches, and it doesn't mean anything. But you're making progress. You're achieving things. Golden Graph. Bear with me just a second while I go through this stack. Yes, they do. All the raid bosses are instanced. What started turning me away from P99 was some of the stories I was hearing about some of the shenanigans that GMs and whatnot were getting up to. And the lack of enforcement thereof. And that trip to City of Mist didn't help at all either. And there we go. That's what I liked about P99 too, was just the community was so awesome. And then you found out what it ends up being. And that's not something I want to strive towards. Shared banking is a thing. Oh, I got another backpack. How about that? Made my first plat. Still waiting for a game to come out that makes me say, ooh. What? How about that? Augments are on the server. Did not expect that. Gaming time is severely limited these days, and I don't want it tarnished with, you know, that level of ass-hattery. Let's go play something else. That's what we were talking about earlier. If I don't like what you're doing, I'll just go play something else. Yeah, well, there hasn't been any. Honestly, there just really hasn't been anything. We've been fooled a few times. World of Warcraft came out, and that was cool. For a while. I think that's the one that had a large part in killing MMOs. Because once that game came out and exploded the way it did, everything became a competition to be as good as World of Warcraft. That's the game that every other game was compared to. And that's a shame. And it's either that or, you know, the City Heroes was a great game. And then they shut it down. So now you got other people trying to revitalize it with, you know, Vanguard and City of Titans. Excuse me. And you know, I'm sorry. I appreciate your effort, but I've already played that game. And what you're doing is just going to be a copy of it. City Heroes really hooked me in because they had the you know, associated comic books that I love to read. Even though they're corny as hell, it added life to the game, added background. Of course, I still have them all in PDF somewhere. Dispersing, what's going on? What's good here? That guy's dead. Oh, and so's that girl. Oh, God, excuse me. Missed a good conversation earlier, Dispersing. Yeah, nothing's new, and I honestly don't even know if they can come up with something new until the VR gets up to speed. I don't think it's even possible to come up with something new and exciting and invigorating. I never played Dark Age until well, Zeus, who ran the Fizzle Classic server, had a Dark Age server that he was sitting on, and he fired it up for me a couple times and we goofed around. Of course, you're not experiencing it the way it's meant to be experienced, but at least I got to see what was going on. Oh yeah, well that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Yeah. And a lot of the indie games, they just don't have the durability, I guess. They're fun for an hour, but they're because of their limited budget. It's a tough time to be a game developer. AAA companies are destroying the market. But they're putting out such big, massive games that it's really hard for an indie to keep up. Because an independent developer is not going to be able to compete with the the graphics, for example, because it's all about the graphics now. You may have a neat game, a neat idea, but you just don't have the resources to fully flesh it out. Oh shit! What's the forge command? I cannot remember what that is. Yeah, well, I don't care. But that's going to be our salvation, is the indie developers. That's who started the whole process. All these games that we know and love were all independents. Variant was an independent company when they came out with EverQuest before they got snatched up by Sony. Turbine, very much an independent. I mean, they threw their lot in with Microsoft, but but they weren't selling in nearly the quantities that they're selling today, because gaming wasn't as big back then. So if you sold 100,000 copies of your game, you were doing pretty freaking good. Nowadays, if you sell 100,000 copies of your game, you failed horribly. Yeah. I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. It's a tough pickle. Tough pickle. You know what I mean. I do know that continuing to dump our money into the AAA developers is a zero-sum game. They're going to continue to ignore our wishes. I think I'm big and bad enough to try out the Knoll Hunters yet. I've had every console from Pong up through PlayStation 1. That's when I stopped devoting myself to consoles. So that's when I got my first PC. No Man's Sky. I never played that. I do remember renting console games. The place I was, when the Sega Genesis was popular, the place I was living at had a rental place right up front. We were constantly going over there and renting games. Nobody does dispersing. Nobody. Even people who know don't know. And that's probably for the best, to be honest. No Man's Sky. Huh. I'll have to check that out. What the hell is that? Oh, it's a pet. Somebody's already camping the knolls. Yeah. Yeah, don't blame me there. It wasn't part of our plan. But it happens, so we have to make the best of the situation. I'm gonna have to check that out. I've heard good things about it from other people. Just there's so many things to do and so many games to play and so little time to play any of them. Yeah, Blockbuster. When they went under, made it a point to go in there and buy up as much as we could, because they were selling it all at, rock bottom prices. First death coming up. Alright. Didn't think I was going to survive that. Yeah, there's a big crash coming. Big crash that nobody's prepared for. Nobody wants to admit to. But, you know, the simple fact of the matter is current levels are unsustainable. And before too long, we're going to be at like German levels of how many people are in the zone? 5. You know, pre-World War II German levels, I mean. Or, you know, Zimbabwe. Oh, Christ, look at their economy. Can't even call it an economy. That story just makes me laugh. The whole Zimbabwe thing. Talk about careful what you wish for. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, Danny's right up there. He flew through the levels. Danny Maple. I mean, I don't think he's quite that high yet, but he's been playing hard. Oh, anytime you look on Discord, he's got the game fired up. But he's always been a machine when it comes to leveling in this game. It's safer that way. The reality of the situation is terrifying. I can't blame anybody for not wanting to face the reality of the situation. My girlfriend doesn't even like talking about it because, you know, I go off on my little rants. Yep. And they'll probably wait till just before the elections. Was it 269 here? I just know that because I happened to drive past a gas station today. Had to take the beast to a doctor's appointment today. That's always fun. Doctors do not like me. Do not like me at all. Because I ask questions. And I, you know, zero tolerance for their stupidity. We're on our third pediatrician already. That gives you any idea. And she's only 3 years old. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it is. And, you know, if the doctors want to keep their jobs, they're going to play ball. We have a hospital here that basically makes it impossible for anybody to open up an independent practice. They've pretty much cornered the market on healthcare in this area. And when I say this area, I mean like 75-mile radius. So if you're a doctor and you want to work in this area, that's who you work for, period. Because they bought up everything. They even have their own insurance. I don't know how common that is. I don't know. I haven't been to a doctor myself in decades. Wait, what? You're yellow. Yeah, we'll try it. What's worse that'll happen? Not like I have to do a corpse run. Yeah, they're not quite socialist yet. They haven't gone full-blown socialist. They still participate in the capitalist system. They still buy and sell goods. I mean, that's capitalism. I don't think there are actually any true socialist countries out there right now. Venezuela was close, but it wasn't completely socialist. The state doesn't own the means of production. There you go. There's the end of your argument right there. Does Canada own all the means of production? No, they don't. Do the people own the means of production? No, they don't. Yeah. So there's your answer. That's what socialism. Oh. Canada still has private businesses owned by private individuals. Excuse me. Oh man, I OD'd on chili cheese dip tonight. It's been haunting me all evening. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab a coffee. What time is it? Oh Jesus, it's moving on. So yeah, be right back. You'll notice a common trend amongst those who support socialism. They tend to be people who have never contributed to society, who have few, if any, marketable skills, and are generally lazy and selfish. And you want to trust your government to those people. Because anybody with any degree of drive, with any degree of self-worth, wouldn't even be comfortable living in a situation like that. Oops, I think I bit off a little more than I can chew here. Here's death number 1. The stuns seem to last forever. Yeah, I'm dead. Yeah, it does. This is one of the old zones that they didn't reskin. I'm gonna die. I don't feel like running. I'm not level 6 yet, so it doesn't matter. Bastard. Oh, save me a trip. Look into the backgrounds of any of these people who get up on their pulpit and start preaching the benefits of a socialist society. Bernie Sanders, prime example. I mean, prime example. The man's never held a job in his life outside of government work. He's never done anything to contribute to society, not one thing. Oh, I guess that's it. What? I get spells? Well, shit, I wish I'd known that. Yeah. Well, there was a discussion. You weren't here for it earlier. How you know, I tried to make the point that this current situation we find ourselves in is the end result, well, nearing the end result of decades of chipping away. Decades of chipping away at the things that it's all the same thing. Sorry, I don't multitask, so bear with me. I got spells. And you know, I had to start by breaking down the nuclear family, which is where it all started. Shit, why the hell did I pick that up already? And that's level 6. And then you just slowly erode away all those things that make people fight, that make people be aware of what's going on around them. There's a big bear. So when you start this fight, when you start this pushback, you have to bear that in mind. You're pushing back against a system that's been in place for decades. You know, effectively since you know, I'm going to say the end of World War II. It's very deeply entrenched. It's become the norm. Oh shit, what the hell? What is that? Run away, run away. I ran the wrong way. Did he chase me? I don't think he chased me. Alright, we're not going in here. Nope, he's chasing me. Is anybody going to get this guy? Anybody? Nobody. You're just going to stand there and watch this guy kill me, huh? Is that what you're going to do? Alright, well thanks for your help, folks. Bastards. Level 12. They're new. Didn't expect to find them there. I was looking for poachers. If you have a poacher's head, you can cash it in for a bow. So how do you fight against something like that? Something that's just had decades to just plan and manipulate and structure, and you know, it's in our education systems. It starts at kindergarten, preschool. If you send your kids to preschool, it starts there. And there are a lot of people out there that will willingly throw their kids into it, ignorantly throw their kids into it. And I have to wait 3 minutes for the spell to wear off. I don't know. I don't know. Can I do any claims here? Oh yeah, that's right, you can't claim anything on this server. That sucks. I need to log on to the Zegany and check it out with my mains, see which claims I have available there. Mains. Ah, buffs. Oh, he's all decked out. It doesn't take people long on these servers. Doesn't take them long at all. There's an old hunter that walks through here. If this holds true to form. The standard operating procedure now is to find somebody to blame. Going back to what we were talking about earlier. You know, the world is the shitty way it is because of the bankers. Well, that may be true. Or because of whoever, you know. Everybody's got their favorite target. Their favorite person to blame, group to blame, whatever. But the one thing that nobody actually does is the personal accountability. They can't do a thing unless you allow them to do a thing. You can't be manipulated unless you allow yourself to be manipulated. It doesn't do us much good, you know, when our great-grandparents allowed this whole thing to come to pass. You know, my great-grandparents, some of your great-great-grandparents. But every generation has had an opportunity to fix it, and every generation has failed to do so, including ours. You know, and I lump myself right in with it. By the time you're old enough and wise enough to realize what's going on, it's too late. You're either too deeply entrenched in it, or you're just too old. Too old to fight. Youth is wasted on the young. Isn't that how the saying goes? No, and well, and even further, no one's willing to accept their part in the role, or their role in the yeah. What am I trying to say? Words. Just need one. I think these are the ones I killed earlier. Come on, you bastard. Why are people leaving the teeth? Do they not remember? Yeah, what the hell? You're saying there's a knoll nearby. Gathorn, what's going on, yo? Yep, I'm right back here again. In Qeynos, or Qeynos Hills. I think that's what our net worth is. Now our net worth is a little above zero. A little. We got a little bit of money in the bank. We carry no debt. That's the important thing. Oh, excuse me. Gonna be hopping on P99 this weekend, Gathorn, if you're up that early. Friday and Saturday probably, which would be Saturday and Sunday morning for you. It's time. It's time to go back. Well, yeah, for the 20th Tequila Joe. It's their 20th anniversary, so I want to show them a little love. Raise awareness in my own little way, I guess. Our favorite Haitian Slayer, Tequila Joe. Really? Yeah, I subbed for a month. Nasher Furgut. There he is. Get that scout. Now, I figure if we're going to... Sorry, Gathorn, back to what you were asking. I figure if we're going to get together, might as well just get back together on P99. Yeah. We know, Danny. We know. Ooh. It's got a knife. I'm level 40 again. Again. I've been level 41 a couple times. I don't know what you're talking about. I think I've been 41 3 times now. Oh, well, that's different. That's different. Now you're just making it complicated. What I want to do, and I know this sounds very out of character for me, is but I want to go to Lower Guck and get that damn belt from the supplier or the assassin, whichever one drops the belt. The supplier drops the belt. I want to go and get that belt for Shadow Knight. As much as I hate Lower Guck. go and get that damn belt. Yeah, I've been enjoying it. The level so twice, you hit it thrice. Still gotta get my Bard out of Crystal Caverns too. Hopefully Thompson's still tied there. Well, we can plan on that if you're around, if you're up that early, because I know it's early for you. But if you find yourself awake either Friday or Saturday, we'll, well, Saturday or Sunday for you, we'll give it a go. Thompson was tied there, and he can port on his wizard. I was so, last time we went there I was just so disgusted. I just didn't want to do it anymore. Just so tired of it. I just logged off right there and just never looked back. And I felt bad because I kind of ditched everybody that was there with me, but just I couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't do it. Could not spend the whole night just dying to these freaking tentacle terrors and running back and trying to get my corpse, and it was bad. And I took my Bard, and I shouldn't have taken my Bard because I'm just not good on a Bard. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, yeah. Yeah, generally log off in safe spots, so it's usually not a problem. I know my Bard's right there in town, so that's not an issue. And the Ogre, I'm pretty sure after the last time he died, I logged off in town somewhere, or close to a town. Actually, I think he's in Lava Storm. I don't know. I'd have to check. Because we were in, last time I played him, we were in Sol B. And it was just such a pain in the ass trying to maneuver in there with him. And I didn't have any shrink potions. And should have never made an Ogre. Shouldn't. It's frustrating. You know, for all the benefits that he has, just as soon as you take him into a dungeon, all those benefits go away. Doesn't matter how tough you are if you can't stand upright and attack something. But yeah, that's my plan for the weekend. Friday and Saturday. Tomorrow I'm probably not going to be on at all. His girlfriend, like I said earlier, girlfriend's off, and I want to finish watching Into the Badlands. I just have to remember which one of my launchers is for P99. How many teeth do I have so far? 7? I had more than that. Oh, no fair. Thompson, are you still tied in Crystal Caverns with your wizard? Black Rose should be everybody's favorite zone. It's the best zone in the game. Yeah, were you still bound there? Or did you bind elsewhere? Oh, that's right. Nobody could bind inside, could they? just wishful thinking. I think he thought I was bringing a train his direction, her direction, its direction, whatever. I didn't want to assume genders. Pack a gun, thanks for the follow.
That's new.
Holy shit. Gold teeth. Worth their weight in gold. All dead. How many teeth do I got now? 10. Alright folks, I think I'm going to wrap up there for the night. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for all the support and all the new follows and whatnot. And Be back Friday night, not tomorrow night, Friday night, with more EverQuest. So until then, you folks have a great week, and yeah, see ya.